Well, hello. Welcome to Spindle City Straight Talk. I'm Chip.
And I'm CJ.
It is Friday in the Riv, and another exciting Friday. I guess uh, we can start off. There was a supposedly a very serious accident uh, near the airport road exit again, and I've been told. I guess we've been latest information. I guess local news is saying there was a pedestrian involved, and we want everybody to know we'll stay away from President Avenue and that area. So, CJ, I know you've been listening to this stuff too. So,
Yeah, there's allegations of that it was a suicide attempt or a successful suicide by somebody on the highway. I'm not sure what that was, but the highway has been since cleared. Traffic is still moving slowly, and people are still trying to get around it, but they have cleared it. It was about 3 hours that the highway was shut down. So it made for a different morning for a lot of commuters into the Boston area because the northbound uh, Route 24 was shut down. So people used northbound 24 to get to Boston and Taunton and Brockton and those areas. So it was a little bit difficult, that's for sure. But on to the big thing. The Perry report has been made public.
what a
And
surprise! Right after the election, right?
yep, right after the election. Isn't that amazing? Right after the election. And guess what? They're still saying that, based upon previous administrations, people think that the city doesn't want to release information because they got something to hide. Yes, they have something to hide. They had the fact that they paid John Perry $65,000. $65,000 to retire to resign. They actually paid him to resign. They didn't charge him with anything illegally. But here's the thing. Let me give you some of the illegal activities he took part in. Okay? First off, nearly a quarter of the witnesses interviewed by said Perry could be a bullying boss, with one woman indicating that he would demean her during manager meetings that included inappropriate language. Others said they had to walk on eggshells when on the job around Perry, saying he could be verbally abusive. One person accused Perry of physically assaulting him on the Lewiston Street property, although no one else in the report repeated his claim. Out of the 48 people interviewed, 11 people actually claimed a bullying atmosphere. Wait a minute. I have to stop there. I have to stop there. Didn't we hear this before from some other department about a bullying? Didn't we hear this before? And Paul covered it up?
Listen, they love to cover stats, cover up Coogan, and they didn't release this till afterwards. And they may be. I don't know if they may be guilty. He may be guilty of malfeasance because if this guy did things illegally that cost the taxpayers money, he had an obligation to prosecute him because if some of those allegations were he was paying people who weren't working and everything else, and if that's the case, the city just again turned their back on criminal activities, and then not only did they turn their back, they pay the guys off. They pay them off. I mean, yeah, this is real good government, people. This is what you got. We know in a school department, we know that what Malone did, age discrimination, sexual harassment, American Disabilities Act violations, nothing. And they paid him off. They let him stay on a job for 8 months. Who knows how much they paid off, and who knows how much those lawsuits are going to cause us because they cover up everything. So shame on you all for not going to the polls because you just elected this whole cover-up crew back in office. And you added one of the old guys back on a school department. So, again, you're not going to be surprised. We even heard that They actually threatened to charge someone in the school department that they didn't like with kidnapping, even though it never occurred. They bully people all the time, but they let their friends get away with things. I want to know what happened to the head of security. I've heard, allegedly, he is still on paid administrative leave. Over a year on paid administrative leave, and he is alleged to be driving buses picking up school kids. So he's being paid by the city and he's getting another paycheck. Is this true? I don't know. CJ, do you know? Nobody knows, because nobody knows anything that happens with the people who are being paid with our taxpayer dollars.
Well, the interesting thing is the Herald News released the article today, and the report that was released is redacted. Okay? Now, attorneys for the city, Meade, Tallerman, and Costa of Newburyport, redacted the names of the city employees interviewed in the investigation before releasing the investigative report and Perry's separation agreement. The judge did not order the report released redacted. The judge ordered the report released. But the city promised them anonymity, and that's why the city wants to hide it up, because we don't know what else is hidden or what else was redacted. But a number of the issues, according to the Herald News, that were brought up in the investigation, often with employees corroborating each of the stories. Nearly a quarter of the witnesses interviewed said Perry, we've already gone over that, accusations of misuse and theft at DCM. A number of DCM employees indicated they were either ordered to work on the private vehicle. Again, wait a minute, work on private vehicles. Where have we heard that before? What department was that going on in before it was going on at DCM?
School department.
The school department.
And also North Korea.
Makes for an interesting time, that's for sure. So, private vehicles of vendors friendly with the former DCM director or Perry's own vehicles, and they had observed equipment and trucks being repaired at the DCM garage using city-owned tools and resources. Several employees indicated that in the winter of 2021, 2 vehicles owned by JDM and Sons Trucking of Fall River were repaired by city mechanics beyond the free city labor. This job required over 100 quarts of hydraulic fluid and more than 5 gallons of motor oil, all supplied by the city garage. Other witnesses claimed that copper electrical wiring from the old incinerator was stripped from a wall and went missing, with an employee claiming the entire facility is no longer grounded properly at all. Others accused co-workers of taking city-owned scrap metal from the Lewiston Street facility.
Yeah, but the other thing was I also heard from a fairly reliable source that fluid you were talking about, they would charge some exorbitant amount for that because the city was paying for it, and you could get the same stuff at Walmart for about 1/4 or less of the price. So listen, but again, they're just raping the taxpayers again. And what does the government do all the time? What they do in Washington. If you fit, they cover for you. Nothing happens to you. You don't get charged. You know, we see it now. We're seeing it. We see it. 150 people, 6 police officers injured in D.C. for riots. They arrested one person who punched a female police officer in the face. 5 other officers were injured. One person. They destroyed property, they graffiti things, one person arrested. Now you walk around the Capitol Rotunda. I'm not saying that the people who did things that destroyed property and stuff and trespass, yeah, these all should be charged with a crime, but the punishment should fit the crime. Somebody got 14 years for graffiti on January 6th. They graffitied everything. They punched police officers, but they're the right party. They fit. That's why we have a two-tiered system of justice. This is why they want to control everything, because now they get to do anything they damn want, and not there are no consequences. And who foots the bill for this gross malfeasance? The taxpayers of the city of Fall River. And while we're on that, con jobs. Yeah, we're doing a great job. Yeah, we're doing a great job. Oh, we need more people, more supervisors, more everything, so they can ignore the things that they're hired to do. We'll even make some of these people supervisors. And if we have to get rid of somebody, they got so much on us that we have to pay them off. Hush money. That's what that is. Hush money. So let me get a cut. I got some stuff sent to me. You know the big con? Oh, here we go. I listened to that council meeting on Tuesday, and LMAX is going to remain. It's going to be a beehive of activity. Oh yes, the train. So all you heard, Joseph Goebbels, the only damn place in the state of Massachusetts that doesn't know that the T is a total catastrophe, is the South Coast. The South Coast. This is something that came from Boston. I believe it was
Channel 5.
Channel 5. MBTA officials say an enormous investment of, now get ready for this. If you're standing up, sit down. Your knees may go with this one. $24.5 billion. That's with a B, not an M. B. An additional $24.5 billion is needed to bring the system into a state of good repair. And an increase of $10 billion since the last report came out. This thing is a disaster, an unmitigated disaster. And you know what this means? Raises in fares, cuts in service. That's what it means. Oh yeah, don't worry about it. The train is the greatest thing since sliced bread. It is absolutely amazing. It's great. It is terrific. I'm rolling up another one now. Let's see what we got here. Oh yeah, okay. Oh, that's nothing. That was a cannabis commission guy that they sent me. That he.
Well, let me interrupt you here, because there's something I want to talk about on this. We talked about stuff being happening. Several witnesses corroborated stories that included the disappearance of a power washer and bags of material used for graffiti removal. Listen to this. Some workers claimed that Perry and former facilities manager Chris Gallagher had a side business using their own graffiti removal machines. While the city's supply of materials to power the machines was being steadily depleted, the city's graffiti removal machine went unused. And over time, parts of the city-owned machine went missing. Imagine that. One staff of city observed city vehicles and equipment at the Gallagher's Dartmouth home when he was installing a pool in his backyard. Now, we know that Chris Gallagher resigned after a sexual tryst thing, abuse situation. But again, we see how they're using it. Now, I'm going to skip over a lot of the other issues that came up because I want to bring this up. Because one of the things that did come up with, and we spoke about this many shows ago, okay, about the illegal dumping of soil. Remember the Morton project when that was going on? The gas station soil. Contaminated with, obviously, petroleum products, gasoline. Was never tested, and are you ready for this one? Was dumped at Oak Grove Cemetery. And we said that. Remember? We talked about that. But we were wrong.
Oh, no, we're negative. We're negative. That's what we are. We were negative. They're illegally dumping in a cemetery, but we're
Right.
negative. But but listen, the reality is this is in the newspaper. There's a slew of things that people are going to be outraged about. But the bottom line is they get away with it again. They walk away with no charges, just like the the head of security over there who allegedly was doing a nasty with a subordinate employee in the Durfee High School.
Right.
But you know what's going to happen to him? Bye. Just go put in your papers, retire. We'll pay you for a year or two for not working. And then you can just disappear and collect a retirement that you could actually be, you could get your pension pulled because you did it in a public building. You were a superior to the individual who did it, and it complies with the law to take a look at revoking your pension. But no conviction, you can't do anything about it. But the reality is, this is what they do. And not a peep from the school committee. Give us more money. That's all they say. That's their mantra. Give us more money. Listen, he got away with it. People in the housing authority get away with it. People in every department get away with it if they fit. If they don't fit, well, it's a little bit different. We just got something in said it was a fatal crash, but now, so listen, this should outrage you, but remember, we told you about the charter, we told you about Durfee, we tell you about everything, and then you just ignore it, and then ultimately we get to say, we told you so. We told you about the cemetery. We tell you about a lot of things. We told you to get out and vote, and you didn't, because you don't pay attention, and you're going to wait. But you know something? Remember we talked about how they really don't like us? They're telling these people, number one, a T's a disaster. We've established that. They're hundreds of billions of dollars in the hole. That place is a clown show, the T. It's a clown show. They just had to dig up the newest tracks they put down. They need another $24.5 billion. It's a clown show. But that clown show is the only place it's going to work in the entire state of Massachusetts is in the South Coast. Now, get your heads out of your rectums, will you please? You should have listened to Nelson and Colin, but you didn't. You don't listen. But I'll tell you, remember we told you on the other show that, these people are never going to come down here. They don't like us. They don't want to be around us. Just like in Martha's Vineyard. Get them out of here. We'll have all the signs we love these illegals. As soon as they show up, it's like get the National Guard, get the buses, get them the hell out of here. Stick them somewhere else. Well, guess what? We're always talking about Newton. But you know something? People in Newton are rich, and they got 75% of that community has a bachelor's degree or more. And they'll participate when you piss them off. They got plenty of money. That's why they'll never come down here. But they proved it again. Here's an article. In Newton, longtime city councilor Deb Crosley considered herself part of an effort to convert the values of liberal Boston suburb of the liberal Boston suburb into tangible policy. In the face of dire regional housing shortages, where the constricted supply of homes is driving housing costs out of reach for most families, they were going to adopt sweeping new zoning rules that would even exceed the MBTA's. Well, guess what the Newtonians did to her? Bounced her. Her and everybody else that wanted to make them bring regular people into Newton. Bounced her. 7-term incumbent. 7-term incumbent. Gone. You know what that proves? If you get your lazy butts to the polls when you're pissed off, you get your way. They don't want these things built in their town where the average value of a home in Newton is, I believe, $1.4 million. These rich elitists don't want to be near you. You know, the only reason they're not wearing a class one exposure suit when they come down here is it's election time and they're looking for votes. Because when Auchincloss leaves Fall River, he takes 3 showers when he gets home to get the stench of regular people off him. That's the reality. No matter how many times, well, guess what? After this 2 years is over and we're bankrupt, maybe you'll do what they did in Newton. See, they don't take any garbage. They told a T right there with your zoning crap. Keep your money, state aid. We don't need it. We're rich. But Fall River, we gotta beg for everything. Please. We can't survive without state aid because all we do is spend our taxpayers' money and then the rest of the state's taxpayer money. Give us, we need all the handouts we can get. We're not a rich community. But they shoved this down your throat. They lied their asses off about the tea. It's a mess and everybody else knows it. And you listen to this propaganda that we got. It's just like mainstream media. There's nothing. They're virtually not even covering those demonstrations where 6 police officers got. They don't tell you anything except what they want to tell you, and then they distort it. They distort the thing. The T's going to be the savior. Well, the only guy that told a half truth was Mike Rodericks when he said, "Well, you know, he already covered his ass. Well, you know, this isn't going to be the panacea for everything. This is not going to fix everything. It's just a piece of the puzzle." Yeah, it's a piece of the puzzle that probably in 10 years won't even run into Fall River because this thing is a mess. The T's a mess. An absolute disaster. So you expect it to be any different in this part of the state that they ignore all the time? All of a sudden, the T is going to be the most efficient, effective transportation system on the planet Earth because they brought it to Fall River. I'll tell you what, I'm surprised that these people haven't sold you, you know, a mountain in Florida, which by the way is below sea level in most of it, and bridges bridges in Alaska that go nowhere. Because I can't believe how they can con you over and over and over again. Whether it's the Durfee High School debt override, whether we're flush, it just doesn't matter. You just don't listen until it's too late. And believe me, we're on the verge of too late. With that, back to you, CJ.
Well, I gotta laugh, you know, because some of the comments I can't even put up. Somebody sent me a message that don't forget about the Morton School project built, and we talked about this briefly.
Yeah.
When Ken Pacheco was seeing the project, and he brought all the contaminated soil over to Bullock Street, where the Little League would keep their soil. I even believe that they were told not to put it in the Little League dirt because if it rained, all the contaminated soil but get into that dirt, and that was again under Ken Pacheco. But let's stick back to the project here. I want to show you how the administration responded to a lot of the allegations. Coogan and Athan both confirmed that after the investigation was complete, the information was forwarded to the Fall River Police Department. Aiken said he also consulted with the Bristol County Assistant District Attorney. However, the law enforcement agencies eventually declined to investigate any further. The administration said they have taken steps to alleviate any issue brought forth by DCM staff. Quote, there were immediate actions taken with some of the outside vendors mentioned in the report no longer having an association with the city. It's not just impropriety, but the appearance of impropriety. We can't tolerate any association with anyone who has allegedly profited off the city. And in closing that, here's what Paul said. Paul said this. Things are all tightened up now. These are, quote, these are all things that I have been addressed. These things that I inherited and have been addressed, said Coogan.
Yeah, 4 years later. Yeah.
Right.
4 years later. Listen, That is the biggest pile of bullshit I ever heard. You know what that's like, CJ? Again, they reinforce the fact that they think everybody is stupid. The police department failed. They said they're not going to do it. You know what that sounds like? Hillary Clinton's 8 million emails, smashing phones with hammers and bleaching them, with top secret documents on them, and then the head of the FBI, oh, he happens to be a Democrat. No reasonable person would prosecute this case because she's a presidential candidate. Really? You know what they're telling you? They don't give a shit because it's your money, taxpayer money, that this guy wasted and got paid off with. They're not going to do it. I can bet you, I will bet you, if they told Paul Coogan to give him $65,000 out of all the money he's made as mayor, you know what he'd do? In a pig's patootie, he'd be saying. He'd be telling that DA, his pal the DA, prosecute this SOB. Telling his police chief, prosecute him. Nah. Because the more you prosecute, the more information comes out. Because if you start prosecuting, he's going to start talking about all the stuff he knows about, and there's going to be discovery. I mean, these people think everybody's a moron. Everybody's an imbecile. We see it every day. They're bringing up Trump on real estate charges, that every bill was paid, because he's who he is. They arrest conservatives. They send SWAT teams, and they classify soccer moms who go to a school committee meeting as terrorists, but they allow BLM and now pro-Palestinian rioters to destroy things, and they arrest maybe one person, and that person was out before the end of the, he went in, he got processed, he was out already. And he punched a female police officer in the face. 5 other police officers were injured. You look at January 6th, and I'm not saying it was right, no, it was wrong. But there are people that are getting 14 years for trespassing. 14 years for trespassing. These people destroyed things. They were assaulting police officers. They get nothing. And this is the Coogan cover-up again, like in the school department. Don't talk about it, and then when we do get caught, say, well, we've addressed this. Yeah, you paid the guy off, and you covered it up until after your election. You think that kind of smacks that what you're saying in that paper is nothing more than bullshit? Because that's exactly what it is.
Well, yeah, you know, I wish we could have a lot more time today, but you have a meeting you have to go to, and because I really want to delve deeper into this John Perry thing, and I sent an email over to the city clerk's office requesting a copy of the report, because I requested that report when the Herald News first won the lawsuit, and I was told that because the city was appealing it, that it would be released after the appeal if they had to. Now, the Herald News obviously received the report, and I got to thank the Herald News for all the information that we spoke about on the air, because again, we wouldn't have it without their press releases and their story.
Now, let me ask you one quick question, Steve.
Sure.
They released a report, which means they withdrew the appeal.
I would think so.
Well, if it was still on appeal, it would still be being.
Well, the thing is, the report was released redacted, and the judge did not order it to be released redacted. The city released the report redacted because they wanted to protect the anonymity of the city employee.
And look, I've got no problem with that, obviously,
right,
because people who come forward should be protected. They have a whistleblower law, and the reality is the people who came forward and told the truth should be protected. But you and I know that's on what they want to do with their nefarious kind of thing. But the reality is, you notice that there was virtually a week after the election, too, everything comes out now.
Yeah.
They delayed that. They didn't release the redacted name report before the election. The only difference between what was that report before and after was now they released so why didn't they just release that if the only thing they wanted to cover up were the names of the people who testified, which, as I said, I don't have a problem with. Why didn't they release it before the election? You know why? Because what we're talking about today, and we will talk about it a lot more on Monday, but the reality is, listen, this whole thing is another cover-up. Another cover-up, and what they do is, let's just move on. Remember, keep your head down, keep your mouth shut, and they'll forget about it in a month. And that's what's happening. Now, Paul, I took care of this. I inherited this. Yeah, well, you inherited everything. I mean, I'm going to tell you what we're going to inherit from you, Paul. We're going to inherit receivership with all the money you've spent.
Well, Chip, you have a meeting to go to, and I don't want you to be late. But please remember, stay safe, stay angry, and hold this douchebag of a mayor accountable.
And
Thank you very much.
Remember what Newton did.
That's right. 7 terms and you're gone, baby. That's a good identifier for term limits. I'll tell you now. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you on Monday.